Have you ever wondered why people take you for granted? Why they keep making the same mistakes, thinking you'll always forgive, always stay? Let's be real, some people think your kindness is a weakness, that your patience has no limits. But here's the truth. The moment you stop allowing it, you take back your power. And if you stay with me till the end of this video, you'll discover why their last chance was the best gift you could ever give yourself. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you given someone the benefit of the doubt only to watch them repeat the same behavior? They apologize, they promise to change, and for a moment you believe them. Why? Because deep down you want to believe people are better than their mistakes. That's a strength that shows your heart. But when does it stop being strength and start being self-sacrifice? The answer is simple. When their actions no longer align with their words. And yet here's a part of you that hesitates. You fear that walking away makes you the bad one, the unkind one. But let me tell you something. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are clarity. Every time you give someone another chance, you are spending a piece of your emotional energy, your time, and your peace. And here is the harsh reality. They know it. They know you'll give and they'll take. But have you ever asked yourself this? If the roles were reversed, would they do the same for you? Or would they walk away the first time you faltered? This is where it gets deep. Human psychology teaches us that people repeat what they're allowed to repeat. If you keep opening the door, they'll keep walking through it. But here is the kicker. That's not their fault. That's on you. The moment you decide enough is enough, you are not punishing them, you are liberating yourself. And here is the reward. You don't lose anything by saying no more chances. You gain something. You gain self-respect, a clearer vision of what you deserve, and most importantly, freedom. So I ask you again, how many more chances will you give? Or is this the moment you finally draw the line? Stick around, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this line isn't just about them, it's about reclaiming your life. Let's pause for a second and address the real weight of it, all the hurt. Because the truth is, walking away, drawing that line doesn't happen in a vacuum. It comes from a place of deep pain, doesn't it? You've been lied to, betrayed, let down. And the worst part, it wasn't always big, dramatic betrayals. Sometimes it was the little things, the small cracks that slowly broke your trust. You replay their words in your head. I am sorry, they said. I'll do better. And maybe the first time you believed them. You gave them your heart again, your trust again, hoping this time would be different. But every time they failed you, that hope started to shrink. It's okay to admit it, this isn't easy. People don't talk enough about how hard it is to let go, to close the door on someone you care about. You are not angry because you are cold-hearted. You are angry because you gave so much, sacrificed so much, and they treated it like it meant nothing. That's the hurt. That's the wound they leave behind. But here is the important part. You have to see it for what it really is. This isn't just about what they did. It's about how it made you feel. It's about the self-doubt, the exhaustion, the second-guessing. That's what happens when you keep forgiving someone who doesn't deserve it. You start to lose a piece of yourself in the process. Now, why does this hurt linger so much? Psychology tells us that our brains are wired to seek closure, to make sense of situations. When someone betrays you, your mind naturally tries to find a reason. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe they'll change. Maybe it's your fault. But that's the trap. The search for closure keeps you tethered to people who don't deserve to be in your life. So here is the question you need to ask yourself. Are you holding on to them because you believe in their potential, or because you are afraid of the emptiness they'll leave behind? Let me tell you something that might surprise you. The pain you feel from letting them go isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the start of you choosing yourself over the cycle of hurt they keep you trapped in. It's time to stop pretending that the next chance will be the one where everything changes. It won't. And deep down, you already know that. What you are looking for isn't with them, it's within you. And when you find it, you'll realize that the hurt was only temporary. The peace that follows, that's permanent. So now ask yourself, are you ready to let go of the hurt? Or will you keep holding on to someone who has proven they don't value your worth? There comes a moment when you realize something profound. You cannot pour from an empty cup. No matter how much you care, how much you give, here is a limit. And that limit is not a weakness, it's a boundary. It's the line that protects you from being drained completely. But here is the tricky part. Recognizing those limits takes courage. Think about it. How many times have you felt exhausted, emotionally worn out because you gave too much? How often have you stayed in situations, not because they were right, but because you didn't want to seem unkind or selfish? It's a hard truth to swallow. But the more you allow someone to push past your limits, the more you lose yourself in the process. Human psychology teaches us an undeniable principle. People treat you based on what you allow. If you let them disrespect you, they will. If you let them manipulate your kindness, they'll see it as an open door. Why? Because boundaries are not just about keeping others in check, they're about teaching people how to treat you. But let's be honest, setting those limits feels terrifying at first, doesn't it? You worry about being misunderstood. You fear losing the connection altogether. You wonder if saying enough makes you a bad person. Let me tell you this, setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about protecting your peace, your energy, and your sense of self. Let's put this into perspective. Imagine a house with no locks on the doors. Anyone can walk in, take what they want, and leave chaos behind. That's what life looks like without limits. You are wide open, vulnerable, and left to clean up the mess others make. But when you install those locks, your boundaries, you take control. You decide who stays, who goes, and who respects the space you've built. This is the part where many people hesitate. They think, if I set limits, won't I lose them? But let me ask you, if someone leaves because you enforced a boundary, were they really there for you or for what they could take from you? Recognizing your limits is not just about protecting yourself from harm. It's about creating space for the right people to step in, the ones who will honor your boundaries, not test them. And here's the beauty of it. The moment you embrace those limits, you stop feeling guilty for putting yourself first. You start to realize that self-respect isn't selfish, it's necessary. So, here's what I want you to think about. What are the limits you've ignored? What lines have you let people cross over and over again? Because the moment you start recognizing and honoring those limits, everything changes. You take back your time, your energy, your life. Here is something that might hit close to home. How often have you sacrificed your peace just to gain someone's approval? How often have you twisted yourself into someone else's version of good enough because you were afraid they'd leave if you didn't? It's a pattern many of us fall into, but here is the truth: seeking approval from others is a never-ending game. And the only prize? Your self-respect slowly slips away. You see, here is a deep psychological need in all of us to feel accepted. That's human. But when that need starts to overshadow your self-worth, that's where the real problem begins. Because the more you seek their approval, the more you teach them that your value depends on their opinion. And let's be honest, how often has that worked in your favor? Here is what happens when you make someone else's validation your priority. You shrink. You silence yourself to avoid conflict. You compromise your boundaries to keep the peace. And in doing so, you send them a dangerous message that their comfort matters more than your worth. But here's the thing. Real self-respect doesn't come from their approval. It comes from your own. And when you prioritize your self-respect over their opinions, something incredible happens. You stop feeling the need to prove yourself. You stop bending over backward for people who wouldn't even lean forward for you. Let's dive deeper into the psychology behind this. People often seek validation from those who give it sparingly. Why? Because it feels like an achievement. But the hard truth is this: chasing approval from people who withhold it is like running on a treadmill. You exhaust yourself and go nowhere. Now imagine flipping the script. What if you stopped seeking approval and started enforcing respect? What if, instead of chasing their validation, you set the standard for how you should be treated? Here is the surprising part. The moment you prioritize self-respect, the right people will notice. The wrong ones will fall away, and that's a good thing. Because self-respect acts like a magnet. It draws in the people who see your worth without you having to prove it. It repels those who only want to take advantage of your need for approval. And isn't that the kind of energy you deserve in your life? So, let me ask you this. What would happen if you stopped caring about their opinions and started caring about your own? What would change if you replaced their approval with your self-respect? The answer is simply you'd stop living for them and start living for yourself. Let's take a step back and ask a critical question. Why do people keep repeating the same harmful patterns? Why do they continue to betray your trust, disrespect your boundaries, or take you for granted even after you've given them countless chances? The answer lies in human psychology. And understanding it could be the key to breaking free. Here is the first thing to know. People do what's comfortable. It's a universal truth. If someone realizes they can get away with certain behaviors without facing consequences, those behaviors become their default. It's not because they're incapable of change, it's because they haven't been required to change. Think about it this way. If every time someone lets you down, you forgive them without expecting anything different, you are unknowingly sending a message. You are saying, this is okay. I'll always be here. And what does that do? It reinforces their behavior. Psychologists call this reinforcement learning. It's the idea that actions followed by rewards are likely to be repeated. In this case, your forgiveness and patience become the reward for their poor behavior. And over time, they begin to expect it. But here is the truth they don't tell you. You can't change someone else's patterns no matter how much you want to. Change has to come from within them. And until they decide to take accountability for their actions, they'll keep repeating the same cycles. Now, let's talk about the other side of this, the pattern you are caught in. Why do you keep giving chances? Why do you let them come back after they've hurt you? It's not weakness, it's hope. You hope that this time will be different, that they'll finally see your worth and rise to the occasion. But hope without evidence is just wishful thinking. Here is where it gets hard but necessary. Breaking free from their cycle starts with breaking your own. You need to recognize that no amount of love, patience, or forgiveness on your part can make someone change. Change happens when they decide they're ready, not when you beg them to. So, what can you do? You stop rewarding the behavior. You set boundaries that are non-negotiable. And most importantly, you stick to them. This isn't about punishing them. It's about protecting yourself. And here is the powerful part. When you break the pattern, you force them to face a choice. They either step up and grow, or they step out of your life. Either way, you win. Because you are no longer trapped in the cycle of hurt and hope. So the next time someone repeats a harmful pattern, ask yourself, is this a reflection of their inability to change, or your inability to walk away? In the next section, we'll dive into the turning point. The moment you choose freedom over the cycle. There comes a moment in every cycle of hurt where you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to more of the same, more pain, more disappointment, more of you sacrificing your peace for someone who doesn't value it. The other path, that's the path of freedom. It's unfamiliar, maybe even terrifying, but it's also where you reclaim your power. So how do you choose freedom over the cycle? The first step is understanding this. Freedom doesn't come from waiting for someone else to change. It comes from you deciding that you deserve better. Let that sink in for a moment. You don't have to wait for their apology, their validation, or their permission to let go. You hold the keys to your own liberation. But let's be real, walking away isn't easy. Human psychology tells us that our brains are wired to seek familiarity, even when that familiarity is harmful. That's why people stay in toxic cycles. It's not because they don't want better. It's because the unknown feels scarier than the pain they've grown used to. Here is the truth you need to hear. The fear of leaving is temporary, but the regret of staying too long can last a lifetime. Imagine waking up one day and realizing how many years you've wasted hoping for someone to change, only to see them remain exactly the same. That's a kind of heartbreak no one deserves. Choosing freedom means shifting your focus. It means asking yourself, what do I want my life to look like? Instead of how can I fix them? It's about redirecting all the energy you've been pouring into someone else and investing it back into yourself. Because here is the reality. When you let go of the wrong people, you create space for the right ones to enter your life. But here is the most powerful part. Freedom doesn't just mean walking away from someone else's toxic behavior. It means breaking free from the stories you've told yourself about what you deserve. If you've convinced yourself that this cycle is all you are worth, it's time to rewrite that narrative. You are worth so much more than being someone's second option, someone's afterthought, or someone's emotional punching bag. And don't think for a second that choosing freedom makes you weak. It's the ultimate act of strength. It takes courage to stand up and say, I will not let this define me. I will not let this hold me back. That's what freedom looks like, choosing yourself over the cycle. So, here's the question you need to ask yourself. What's stopping you from choosing freedom today? Is it fear, guilt, habit? Whatever it is, acknowledge it, but don't let it control you. Because on the other side of that fear is the life you've been waiting for. When you let go of the cycle, when you finally decide to step away from the endless loop of pain and unmet expectations, something remarkable happens. At first, it feels uncomfortable. You've lived so long in a world where their opinions, their actions, and their approval dictated your emotions that freedom feels foreign. But then slowly, that discomfort gives way to something you might not have felt in a long time: peace. Peace doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It's quiet, steady, and powerful. It shows up in the moments when you realize you no longer need their validation to feel whole. It's in the mornings when you wake up and no longer carry the weight of wondering what they think of you. It's in the evenings when you feel lighter, because your energy isn't drained by their constant chaos. This is where true transformation begins. You start to see yourself not as a victim of their behavior, but as the architect of your own life. That's a mindset shift rooted in psychology, the idea that you can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it. And choosing to let go is the ultimate response. Here is what's fascinating. When you release someone who's been holding you back, you don't just free yourself from their actions, you also free yourself from your own limiting beliefs. You stop asking, why wasn't I enough for them? And start affirming, I am enough for me. That shift is where healing truly begins. You might wonder, what if they come back? What if they realize what they lost? And maybe they will. But here is the thing. Their return doesn't matter. What matters is that by the time they try to re-enter your life, you've built something so strong, so fulfilling, that you don't need them anymore. Let them see your growth. Let them watch from a distance as you thrive without them. Because here is the ultimate truth. Letting go isn't about them. It's about you. It's about choosing to stop surviving and start living. It's about recognizing that the chapter you are leaving behind doesn't define the rest of your story. It's a chapter, not the whole book. And here is the reward for letting go. Clarity. You start to see yourself and your life with fresh eyes. You begin to understand that your worth was never tied to their actions. Your worth has always been within you, waiting for you to claim it. So ask yourself, if you let go today, what would your life look like tomorrow? Imagine it free from the weight, free from the doubts, free from the cycle. Now that you've let go of the weight holding you down, the real journey begins. This is your moment. The slate is clean, and your future is no longer tied to someone else's actions or approval. But here is the challenge. Freedom comes with responsibility. You now have the power to shape your life, and what you do with that power will define everything that follows. The first step is rediscovering who you are. When you've spent so much time living for someone else, you might lose sight of your own identity. So, ask yourself, what makes you happy? What ignites your soul? What dreams did you bury while trying to meet their expectations? These questions are not easy, but they are essential. The answers are the foundation of the life you are about to build. Here is the beauty of this process. When you shift the focus back to yourself, you begin to notice opportunities you once overlooked. You realize that the energy you used to spend trying to fix someone else can now be directed towards your growth. And let me tell you, that's where the magic happens. Start small. Set goals that excite you, goals that remind you of your potential. Maybe it's learning a new skill, pursuing a passion you left behind, or simply creating a routine that brings you joy. Whatever it is, make it yours. Because when you live for yourself, every step forward feels like a victory. But here is the part that many people overlook. Building the life you deserve also means surrounding yourself with the right people. The ones who lift you up, who inspire you, who respect your boundaries without you having to remind them. These are the people who will celebrate your growth, not feel threatened by it. You might be wondering, what if I make mistakes along the way? What if I fail? Let me tell you something. Mistakes are not failures, they are lessons. Every misstep teaches you something valuable about yourself and the path you are on. And failure? That's just another step towards success. Psychology teaches us that resilience is built through challenges, not comfort. So embrace the bumps in the road. They're shaping you into someone stronger. And remember this, the life you deserve is not just about external achievements. It's about inner peace. It's about waking up every day knowing that you are in control of your own happiness, that no one else has the power to take that from you. So, as you take these first steps toward the life you deserve, ask yourself, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What story do you want your life to tell? Because the choices you make now, where you've started the journey, you've let go of the past, rediscovered yourself, and begun building the life you deserve. But here is the reality. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. There will be challenges. There will be setbacks. The key, however, is how you respond to them. It's easy to feel motivated in the beginning, but what happens when life throws you off course? How do you maintain the momentum? First, you need to understand this. Setbacks are inevitable. In fact, they're necessary. Think about it without challenges. Here is no growth. It's through facing adversity that we discover what we're truly made of. So, instead of seeing setbacks as signs that you are not progressing, see them as opportunities to strengthen your resolve. When life hits hard, remember this. Resilience is built in the moments when everything feels like it's falling apart. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain, it's about learning to rise from it stronger and wiser. Every obstacle you face is a chance to prove to yourself that you are more than capable of overcoming anything life throws at you. But how do you stay on track when the road gets tough? The first step is to remind yourself of why you started. Go back to the vision you created when you let go of the past. What was it that you wanted for your life? What did you feel when you first tasted freedom? Those initial sparks of motivation are powerful tools. Keep them close because they'll help you push through when doubt creeps in. Next, don't be afraid to ask for help. It's easy to think that you have to do everything alone, but the truth is, the right support can make all the difference. Surround yourself with people who encourage your growth, people who remind you of your worth and cheer you on when you feel like giving up. No one achieves success in isolation. Another critical point is this: practice patience with yourself. You didn't get to this point overnight, and you won't reach your destination overnight either. Growth takes time. The process is gradual. So, don't rush it. Be kind to yourself during the rough days. When you make a mistake, don't beat yourself up. Instead, acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward. Finally, keep your mindset focused on progress, not perfection. Every day, no matter how small, is an opportunity to move closer to the life you've envisioned. Celebrate the small wins. Appreciate the steps you are taking, even when they feel insignificant. Over time, all those little victories will add up to massive transformation. So, when the setbacks come in, don't let them derail you. Use them as stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. With each challenge you face, you become more equipped to handle the next. And as you stay true to your vision, remember this: the life you deserve is within reach. It's not a distant dream. It's the reality you are creating with every decision you make. Now that you've weathered the setbacks and built resilience, it's time for the most exciting part: thriving. You've broken free from the cycle, created the life you deserve, and faced challenges head on. But here is the thing: thriving isn't just about reaching a destination. It's about living with purpose every single day. It's about waking up with intention and moving through life, knowing exactly what you are working toward. Living with purpose starts with understanding that your life is yours to shape. You are no longer confined by the expectations of others, and you are no longer dragging the weight of the past behind you. You freed yourself from that, and now you get to decide what kind of future you want to create. The first step is to identify your core values. What do you stand for? What's non-negotiable in your life? Purpose isn't just a vague concept, it's about aligning your daily actions with your deepest values. When your choices reflect what you truly believe in, every day becomes meaningful. You stop just surviving and start truly living. It's also essential to create goals that inspire you, not goals based on what others expect or what's practical, but goals that light a fire in your heart. These are the dreams that keep you up at night, the ones that make you feel alive. When you focus on what excites you, everything else falls into place. Your energy, your passion, your determination, they all align with your purpose. But thriving isn't just about achieving, it's about enjoying the process. When you live with purpose, you savor every step of your journey. You embrace the lessons, the growth, the successes, and even the failures, because you know that every experience contributes to the bigger picture. The goal is no longer just the end result, it's the joy you find in moving toward it. Here is a powerful truth. When you live with purpose, you stop seeking validation from others. You no longer need anyone to tell you that you are on the right track. You already know you are. The purpose you've discovered within yourself becomes your guiding light. It's also important to continue evolving. As you grow, your purpose might shift, and that's okay. Life is fluid, and the person you are today may not be the person you are 5 years from now. The key is to remain open to change, to trust the process, and to keep pushing forward. As you thrive, you will find that new opportunities, new passions, and new levels of fulfillment will keep opening up. And here's the ultimate payoff. When you live with purpose, you inspire others to do the same. Your life becomes a reflection of what's possible when you choose to take control. You don't just thrive for yourself. You thrive for everyone who watches you and says, if they can do it, so can. So, as you continue on this journey, remember this. Thriving is a mindset, not a destination. It's about living fully in every moment, staying true to your purpose, and embracing the endless possibilities that come when you refuse to settle. This is the life you were meant to live. And the best part? You are just getting started.